Welcome back to the front lines of the psychological war. Today, we are not just pulling back the curtain, we are performing a brutal autopsy on a lifestyle that masquerades as power but functions like a terminal infection. Sit down and breathe, because what I am about to reveal will strip away the last remnants of the narcissist's mystery, leaving only the cold, hard reality of their decay. You've seen them. The high-value predators, the serial charmers, the men who collect women like trophies on a shelf. To the outside world, they look like conquerors, but to those who know the truth, they are walking morgues. Behind every new conquest is a frantic, desperate attempt to outrun a sickness that started in their childhood and is now consuming their very ability to exist as a human. We are calling this the sexual disease of the narcissist, not because it lives in the blood, but because it rots the soul. It is a pathological compulsion to seek multiple sources of validation through physical intimacy, a spreading malignancy that eventually kills their mind, their reputation, and their spirit. They aren't players by choice. They are addicts who have lost control of the wheel. Have you ever felt that haunting, hollow chill when they looked at you, even in your most intimate moments? That wasn't your imagination, it was the presence of the others they were already hunting. For the narcissist, one woman is a mirror, but 10 women are a hall of mirrors. They need the distortion to hide the fact that they have no actual face. They are drowning in a sea of bodies. This video is for the survivors who were discarded for a newer model, and for those still trapped in the web of a man who can't stay loyal. Understand this: his inability to commit isn't a reflection of your worth, but a symptom of his terminal condition. He is a parasite that has lost the ability to distinguish between food and poison. He is eating himself alive, one supply source at a time. Imagine the sheer, crushing exhaustion of maintaining 5 different versions of a lie. To the narcissist, every woman represents a different mask he must wear, a different script he must memorize, and a different set of secrets he must bury. This is the disease in its most active state. It creates a cognitive load so heavy that his brain begins to physically and mentally short-circuit. Why is it very deadly? Because the narcissist's ego is a balloon that requires constant, high-pressure air just to stay inflated. By spreading his needs across multiple women, he ensures that no single one can ever truly know him, but he also ensures that he can never truly know himself. He becomes a fragmented ghost, a collection of stolen traits with no central core to hold them together. The question that haunts every survivor is, why wasn't I enough? The truth I am exposing today is that enough does not exist in the narcissist's vocabulary. Seeking multiple women is his way of diluting the shame he feels when he looks at his own reflection. If he can stay in the new supply phase forever, he never has to face the monster that lives in the depths of his long-term reality. We are going to break down the mechanics of this self-destruction. We will look at how the sexual disease of multisourcing eventually leads to narcissistic mortification, the total collapse of the ego. This isn't a story about his success, it's a documentary of his extinction. By the time we are done, you won't feel jealous of his new targets, you will feel a profound, cold pity. Prepare yourself for a journey into the darkest corners of the human psyche. We are dismantling the myth of the alpha and revealing the pathetic, shivering child underneath. The sexual disease of the narcissist is a one-way street to a lonely, agonizing psychological death. The predator is being hunted by his own history, and the clock is ticking. Let the truth begin its work. To understand the psychological rot, you must realize that a narcissist views women as units of energy, not human beings. Each new partner is a hit of dopamine, a chemical fix that temporarily numbs the screaming void in his chest. This isn't about attraction, it's about anesthesia. He is a man in constant pain, and he uses the bodies of others to build a wall between him and his agony. The sexual disease thrives on the thrill of the hunt because the kill is the only time the narcissist feels powerful. Once the conquest is over and the woman begins to demand real intimacy, the disease flares up. Intimacy requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is a death sentence for a narcissist. To avoid being seen, he must immediately pivot to a new source who doesn't know his secrets. This creates a state of perpetual fragmentation. He has a good guy mask for the primary supply, a bad boy mask for the secret flings, and a victim mask for the ex-partners he keeps on a leash. Over time, these masks begin to bleed into each other. He forgets which lie he told to whom. The cancer of his deception begins to metastasize, leading to erratic, impulsive, and dangerous behavior. Viscerally, think of the narcissist as a man trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. He thinks the solution is to pour more water in from more sources, faster and faster. But the more he pours, the more the hole expands. The sexual disease is the expansion of that hole. Eventually, no amount of women, no matter how beautiful or devoted, can keep the bucket from being empty. He mirrors every woman he meets to make her believe he is her soulmate. But in doing so, he is literally erasing his own identity. He becomes a chameleon who has spent so much time changing colors that he no longer remembers his original hue. This internal disintegration is the silent killer of the narcissist. He is a hollow shell, a walking vacuum that consumes everything in its path. The motives are always hidden, even from himself. He tells himself he is searching for the right one, but he is actually running from the wrong one, the broken version of himself he sees in the mirror every morning. Multiple partners serve as a distraction from the crushing weight of his own mediocrity and the terrifying realization that he is incapable of feeling genuine, deep human love. Shame is the fuel that keeps this engine running. The more women he deceives, the more his internal shame grows, which in turn necessitates more supply to drown out the shame. It is a feedback loop of pure destruction. The sexual disease is a self-fulfilling prophecy of loneliness. He is surrounding himself with people so that he never has to realize just how profoundly alone he truly is. Every supply source he engages with leaves a psychological residue. He carries the trauma of his victims like a heavy, invisible shroud. He is haunted by the ghosts of the women he has discarded, paranoid that they will eventually talk to each other. This paranoia is the first stage of the terminal collapse. The predator begins to feel the walls of his own labyrinth closing in on him. Why is more never enough? Because he isn't looking for a person, he is looking for a god. He wants someone who will worship his false self without ever questioning the cracks in the foundation. Since no human woman can sustain that level of delusion forever, he must constantly replace the worshipper before she realizes she is praying to a false idol. This is the cycle of his doom. The spiritual rot is now complete. He has traded his soul for a series of shallow, meaningless encounters that leave him feeling more empty than before. The sexual disease has consumed his capacity for empathy, leaving only a cold, calculating machine. But even machines break down when they are overworked and undermaintained. The narcissist is reaching his breaking point, and the end is near. The dramatic turning point arrives when the primary supply, the one who provided the stability and the cover for his lies, finally wakes up. This is the moment the sexual disease loses its hiding place. When the rock of his existence refuses to be a part of the delusion anymore, the narcissist's entire world begins to tilt. The safety net is gone, and he is falling through empty space. Suddenly, the women he has been multi-sourcing begin to compare notes. In the age of digital transparency, the narcissist's secret lives are colliding with terrifying speed. The sexual disease is exposed to the light, and like all mold, it begins to shrivel. He finds himself in a room full of people who finally see the mask for what it is, a cheap, plastic imitation of a human being. Watch his reaction to the narcissistic injury. He doesn't apologize, he rages. He lashes out at the very women he claimed to love, accusing them of being the crazy ones. This is the death rattle of his control. He is a captain on a sinking ship, screaming at the waves to stop moving. But the waves don't care about his ego. The power dynamic has shifted forever, and he is powerless. His gaslighting, once his most potent weapon, now falls on deaf ears. When you have the receipts, his alternate reality looks like a pathetic, poorly written play. The sexual disease of his lifestyle has left a trail of evidence that even he can't lie his way out of. He is trapped in the truth, and for a narcissist, truth is the most lethal poison imaginable. It is his psychological end. He shifts from hunter to prey in the blink of an eye. The women he once manipulated are now the ones holding the power of his reputation in their hands. He begins to live in a state of constant, vibrating fear, fear of exposure, fear of humiliation, and fear of being left with nothing. The sexual disease has turned his social circle into a minefield, and every step he takes is a risk. Notice the hoovering becoming more desperate and less sophisticated. He will send frantic texts, make midnight calls, and stage fake emergencies to draw any kind of energy back to himself. But it's no longer about love or sex, it's about survival. He is a drowning man grabbing at anything that floats, even if it's a jagged piece of glass that will only cut him deeper. It is pathetic. The loss of his primary rock is the killing blow. Without that one person to tell him he is a good man despite his flaws, he is forced to see himself through the eyes of the secondary supplies who only see him as a fleeting thrill. He realizes that he is not a king, he is a temporary entertainment. The realization of his own utter insignificance is the deadly turn of the disease. You are now seeing behind the curtain, and what you see is a small, terrified creature operating a giant, booming machine of bravado. The mystery is gone. The secret knowledge is out. He is just a man with a broken brain and an insatiable hunger for things that will never satisfy him. Once you see the little man behind the projection, the narcissist can never truly hurt you again. He begins to isolate himself, not out of choice, but out of necessity. His name becomes synonymous with trouble and toxicity. The sexual disease has metastasized into his reputation, making him a pariah in the very circles he once dominated. He is forced to move to the fringes of society, looking for supply among the most vulnerable and broken, because no one else will have him. The turning point is your indifference. When you stop careening through his drama and simply walk away, you take the last of his power with you. He is left in the wreckage of his multi-sourced life, surrounded by the debris of 100 broken promises. The sexual disease has achieved its final goal, total, absolute isolation. The predator is now alone in the dark, and the dark is hungry. Now we witness the final descent, the total collapse. A narcissist without high-quality supply is a man whose internal battery is dead. He begins to physically and mentally unravel. The sexual disease of his lifestyle manifests as a permanent state of agitation and narcissistic brain fog. He can't focus, he can't plan, and he can't maintain the energy required to hunt for new victims. Paranoia becomes his constant companion. He imagines that every woman is talking behind his back, that every phone call is a conspiracy to destroy him. This is the psychological consequence of a life built on betrayal. He is a victim of his own mind, haunted by the sexual disease he cultivated for years. The world he once thought he owned has become a prison with invisible bars. His reputation is a smoking crater. In the small circles of high-value people, word travels fast. The sexual disease of his promiscuity and deception is now public knowledge. He finds that doors that were once open are now slammed in his face. He is no longer invited to the parties, he is the reason people are glad they didn't go. He is a ghost in his own city, a man without a home. The quality of his supply drops to an all-time low. He is forced to settle for women who are as broken and toxic as he is, or those who are too young and naive to know better. But these sources are low-octane fuel. They don't provide the high-level validation he needs to sustain his ego. The sexual disease is now in the stage of malnutrition, the host is starving to death. Watch him play the victim one last time. He will tell anyone who will listen that women are the problem, that no one understands him, and that he is the one who was betrayed. But the words are hollow, and the delivery is weak. Even he doesn't believe his own lies anymore. The sexual disease has eroded his ability to even fool himself. He is a man who has run out of stories. He may turn to other numbing agents to deal with the pain of his fading relevance. Drugs, alcohol, or even more extreme and dangerous sexual behaviors become his new supplies. But these only accelerate the rot. The sexual disease is now a multi-organ failure of the psyche. Every attempt to fix the problem only makes the collapse more spectacular and more humiliating to witness. His ego, once his greatest shield, is now a pile of dust. He looks in the mirror and sees a stranger, an aging, bitter man who has nothing to show for his life but a trail of tears and a collection of regrets. The deadly nature of his condition is this: he is aware of his failure but is biologically and psychologically incapable of changing it. He is a man watching his own house burn down. Bitter resentment becomes his only emotion. He hates the women who left him, he hates the women who stayed, and most of all, he hates you for being happy without him. He is a vessel of pure, cold venom. The sexual disease has turned his heart into a stone. He is incapable of joy, incapable of peace, and incapable of ever feeling enough. This is the ultimate, terminal stage of the rot. The end is often quiet and pathetic. He fades into the background, a man whose name is whispered as a warning. He lives in a state of permanent discard, but this time, the world has discarded him. The sexual disease of his lifestyle has left him with a soul that is a barren wasteland. There is no one to witness his pain, and no one to care if he falls. He is truly, finally, irrelevant. This is the brutal truth of the narcissistic life cycle. It is not a story of a player who won, it is a tragedy of a man who lost everything in the pursuit of nothing. His multisourcing was the very thing that ensured his destruction. The sexual disease has finished its work. The host is dead, even if the body is still breathing. This is the cold, hard reality of the predator's end. We arrive at the final truth, the one that will set you free forever. The sexual disease was never your burden to carry. His betrayals, his lies, and his desperate need for multiple women were not a reflection of your inadequacy. They were the symptoms of a man who was born with a hole in his soul. You were never meant to fill it, you were only meant to witness the tragedy of its emptiness. Empower yourself with this realization. Your ability to be loyal, to love one person, and to be honest is a superpower. In a world where narcissists are frantically collecting bodies to feel alive, you have the quiet strength of a person who is already whole. You don't need 1,000 mirrors to see your own worth. You are the gold, and he was just a man who didn't know how to hold on to it. They never won. Even when they were with someone else, they were checking their phone for the next hit. Even when they were laughing, they were scanning the room for a threat. Their life is a 24-hour job of deception with no vacations and no retirement plan. The sexual disease ensures they are never at peace. You, on the other hand, have the luxury of a quiet mind and a clean heart. Your rebirth begins the moment you realize that his rejection was actually a divine protection. You were removed from a life of sexual disease and spiritual rot so that you could breathe clean air again. You have been purged of the infection. The pain you felt was the detox process of removing a parasite from your system. Now, you are free to heal, to grow, and to thrive in the light. Do not look back at the new supply with jealousy. Pity them. They have walked into a house that is already on fire, and they think they found a home. They are about to experience the same cycle of sexual disease that you escaped. Their victory is a death sentence in disguise. You are the lucky one who got out alive, with your dignity and your soul still intact. Never forget that. Cut the cord of curiosity. Stop looking for closure from a man who is a professional liar. Your closure is the fact that you are no longer in his path of destruction. Silence is your greatest weapon and your most powerful boundary. Let him scream into the void. The less you react, the faster the cancer of his influence withers in your life. You are the master of your own energy now. Look in the mirror today and see a survivor who has been through the psychological fire and came out refined. You are wiser, stronger, and more discerning than you have ever been. You have seen the secret knowledge of the predator, and now you are immune to his charms. You are a lighthouse for others who are still lost in the fog of sexual disease and narcissistic manipulation. Freedom is the best revenge. Living a life of joy, authenticity, and deep connection is the ultimate middle finger to the narcissist who thought he could destroy you. He wanted you to be a hollow shell like him, but instead, you became a forest. You are growing, blooming, and providing shade for those who deserve it. He is just a desert, doomed to stay dry and empty forever. Let the narcissist drift into the obscurity he so richly deserves. Let him juggle his multiple women until his hands grow tired and his heart stops beating. His story is a dark documentary of a life wasted on the pursuit of shadows. Your story is a cinematic triumph of the human spirit over the void. Carry this truth with you, and never let a ghost dim your light or steal your peace again. The final verdict is in, and the truth is absolute. While he was busy collecting bodies for his supply, you were busy saving your soul from the fire. The sexual disease of the narcissist is a terminal condition, but your survival is a permanent victory. Walk away from the wreckage with your head held high, because the world is waiting for the version of you that is finally, truly free.